Hello, on Luhuan Island, Macau, there is a famous beach with black sand called Hac Sa Beach. It has cool sea breezes and picturesque scenery, attracting numerous tourists annually. In the 1980s, while playing on the beach, some tourists accidentally discovered parts of human bodies. From this discovery, a horrifying murder case was unveiled. Next, let's delve into the case that occurred in Macau. The story takes place in Macau, in the Hac Sa Hong area, located in the northeastern part of the Macau Peninsula. This is the most densely populated area in Macau. In the 1980s, a shocking massacre occurred here. On August 8, 1985, a Thursday, at the famous tourist spot Hac Sa Beach on Luhuan Island, Macau, many tourists gathered to have fun. Hac Sa Beach is renowned as one of the 8 scenic spots of Macau, an ideal place for water activities. At the end of Hac Sa Beach, there's a spot called A Ba Hoang, named because the mountain there resembles an old lady. It is extremely dangerous as the waves here create strong currents. When encountering the reefs along the shore, the currents form whirlpools. The underwater environment here is very complex. Tourists who cannot swim or have poor physical condition are very susceptible to accidents when swimming here. Many tourists have drowned in this spot. On that day, a group of tourists was playing in the water near Hac Sa Beach. They drifted with the waves to the A Ba Hong area. Knowing the place was very dangerous, they quickly swam back to shore. After a wave receded, people saw a scene they would never forget. Far off the beach, some white objects resembling human hands and feet suddenly appeared. Initially, the tourists thought they were plastic mannequins. Curious, they moved in for a closer look. The white objects did not feel like plastic, but rather like real hands and feet. Moreover, there was more than one. Everyone felt terrified and immediately reported to the police. Upon receiving the report, the Macau Coast Guard promptly arrived at the scene where tourists discovered the strange objects. After some searching, they found 4 right feet, 2 left feet, and 2 hands on the beach. All were genuine human body parts. Based on the decomposition state, it was estimated they had been in seawater for over 2 days. The Macau Criminal Police received the report and quickly arrived at the beach to conduct a site investigation. There were many tourists. Apart from these body parts, no other clues were temporarily found on the beach. Police suspected it could be due to some illegal immigrants accidentally falling into the sea and being bitten by sharks, leaving behind body parts. Since the 1960s, illegal immigration from the mainland to Macau had been prevalent. At that time, labor wages in Macau were several times higher than in the mainland. Because of the lure of money, many people risked danger to immigrate illegally. They started from Zhuhai, either swimming or taking small boats to Macau. Due to the frequent occurrence of illegal immigration, Macau police also stepped up suppression. According to Macau's laws at that time, if illegal immigrants were not caught red-handed on the boat, it was difficult to prosecute the boat operators and the illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants from the mainland were transported through illegal organizations. If checked by the Macau Coast Guard, these illegal organizations would force the illegal immigrants to jump into the sea to avoid inspection and legal responsibility. At that time, sharks lived in the waters near Macau. many illegal immigrants forced to jump into the sea were eaten by sharks, and the remaining body parts were washed ashore by waves. Since dead bodies and body parts were often found on the beach, Macau police were not too surprised this time. However, forensic results led the case in a completely different direction. The forensic pathologist found that the body parts were deliberately cut, with very smooth cuts, not caused by shark bites but by knives or axes. The cut surfaces were very smooth, and the skin on the palm had been pressed by heavy objects. Someone had intentionally erased the fingerprints, and the victim had been murdered and then dismembered. 2 days after discovering the body parts near the A Bahong area of Hac Sa Beach, the Coast Guard found a stray dog carrying a human hand. Upon examination, it was identified as a left hand of a woman. The next day, at the same location on Hac Sa Beach, the Coast Guard found a woman's right hand. Additionally, tourists spotted a piece of cloth on the crowded Hac Sa Beach. Within 4 days, a total of 11 human body parts were discovered. The number was unprecedented to that point. The incident has been widely spread, attracting the attention of many Macau residents. Media outlets simultaneously reported on the case. Since among the discovered body parts, there were 4 right feet, this means that at least 4 people had died. Due to the large number of victims and public pressure, the Macau police quickly established a special task force to investigate the case. Influenced by the forensic conclusions, the police began to change their direction of investigation. This was not an accidental drowning of illegal immigrants, but a dismemberment murder case. The police started investigating recent missing persons in Macau. They also contacted Guangdong police to assist in investigating recently missing persons, but found no suitable matches. Months passed, and the identities of the victims were still undetermined, causing the investigation to come to a standstill. Half a year after the incident, the police received a letter that became the key breakthrough in the case. The letter stated that Mr. Zheng Lin had been working in Macau for many years, diligently and hard working. But in early August last year, he suddenly disappeared. The Bát Tiên Restaurant and his properties in Macau were taken over by a man named Wang. Recently, more human body parts were found on the beaches of Bao Hiung and Hac Sa, Macau. I suspect my brother has met with an accident, and I hope the police can help find traces of my brother. The letter was sent from Guangdong. The brother of the letter writer was the owner of the Bát Tiên Restaurant in Macau. The letter writer noted that he did not know why his brother had lost contact for over half a year. Recently, he read news about many body parts found on Hac Sa Beach, Macau. He suspected that the case might be related to his missing brother and hoped the police could investigate this direction. The appearance of the letter rekindled hope for the Macau police. They immediately sought out Zhen's brother, Lin's brother, to inquire about the situation. According to the brother, Zheng Lin was 54 years old this year, originally from Nanhai Foshan, Guangdong. In 1960, he left his hometown for Macau to start a business. Initially, he ran a roast duck stall in a small street west of Hac Sa Beach Road, number 7. Later, with the help of acquaintances, he rented a restaurant near the Wooden House area west of the intersection of Hac Sa Beach Road and Gong Sing Road, named Bát Tiên Restaurant. In Macau, Junglin married a woman 12 years younger, named Tran Hoi Negi. They had 4 daughters and 1 son. His mother-in-law, Tran Lap Vin, also lived with the family. The family lived near the Bát Tiên Restaurant at number 4 Hac Sa Beach area. The restaurant business was very successful, and the family enjoyed a good life. Junglin's brother and parents lived in their hometown of Nanhai Foshan, Guangdong. Usually, they kept in touch with Junglin in Macau through letters. In July last year, Junglin brought 2 of his children to visit their elderly parents in their hometown. Junglin discussed some matters with his brother and then returned to Macau with his children. Since then, he had lost contact with the family. More than half a year had passed. The police asked Junglin's brother if there was anything Junglin had mentioned during his visit. The brother revealed that his sister-in-law, Tran Hui Yingqi, was from Macau. Previously, she had agreed to marry his brother, a man from the mainland. Because his brother had a bad reputation, and no local people dared to marry him. After marrying Junglin, Tran Hui Nue rarely asked about the restaurant business and was obsessed with playing mahjong. Sometimes, she gambled heavily and was extremely addicted to gambling. Tran Hui Ninki was sharp-tongued and did not get along with the neighbors, except for having a good relationship with a man named Hong Tri Hang, the owner of a nearby store. Junglin was over 50 years old, constantly busy with the restaurant business, with no time to care for the family, and his health declined. He always suspected that his wife, Tran Huinuki, had an affair with the neighbor Hong Tri Hang. Fearing that his wife would demand a divorce, Junglin confided his worries to his brother when he returned to his hometown. If his wife truly left in the future, Junglin hoped his brother could come to Macau to help manage the restaurant and take care of the children, considering they were blood relatives. Comforting his brother, the brother agreed. Knowing this situation, the brother paid more attention to news about his brother in Macau. However, after Junglin returned to Macau, he suddenly lost contact. Unable to reach his brother due to worry, the brother decided to travel to Macau. When he arrived, he found that his brother was not at home on Hac Sa Road, nor at the Bát Tiên Restaurant, which was now managed by Hong Tri Hang. Strangely enough, the younger brother discovered that not only was his older brother, Junglin, missing, but so were his wife and children. Even the chef of the Bát Tiên Restaurant had disappeared. The younger brother found the situation increasingly odd. He went to find Ho in Tra Gingi to get some clear answers about what was happening. Unexpectedly, Ho Entreta Pertabe Nunji paid him no attention and even kicked him out of the store. The younger brother suspected that his sister-in-law, Tran Huan Neki, had conspired with Ho Nang Triatg. He believed the two had colluded to kill his brother and take over the Bát Tiên Restaurant. Fearing that the neighbors would discover the truth, Nun had taken the children to hide somewhere. With no other options, the younger brother had to return to his hometown in Ptesen Inn to wait for news. Upon learning about the situation, the Macau police immediately launched an investigation based on these clues. The Bát Tiên Restaurant had been established in the 1960s and was later sold to Junglin. Junglin had painstakingly built up the restaurant over more than 20 years. Although it was not a large establishment, it was greatly appreciated by the local customers, consistently enjoying good business. Now, Junglin had suddenly disappeared, and the Bát Tiên Restaurant was under the management of Ho Hoing Trar Hnu. At this point in the investigation, the police concluded that Ho Ing Tur Hodder 8 Nungi was closely connected to the case. They decided not to act hastily but quietly began questioning the neighboring residents. One neighbor stated that since August of last year, they had not seen the family of Junglin and had no idea where they went. Ho Eng Trie To Kekan unexpectedly took over the Bát Tiên Restaurant, and other neighbors also found this suspicious. Some had even asked Ho Ingi Tri H Wangi why he had taken over the restaurant and inquired about the whereabouts of Junglin's family. Ho Ingi Tri then a Mungi explained that the couple owed him a substantial gambling debt, but could not repay it and had thus mortgaged the Bát Tiên Restaurant to him. As for where the family went, Ho Anin Tre Kare claimed not to know, explicitly stating, "Why should I care about where they went? If they jumped into the sea, it has nothing to do with me." Neighbors were well aware that Junglin's family loved playing mahjong and were addicted to gambling, especially his wife, Tran Hu Unnik, who was known as a notorious gambling addict. Even the chef of the Bát Tiên Restaurant had a strong gambling habit. Neighbors frequently gossiped that if Junglin's family did not quit gambling, they would eventually lose everything and end up on the street. Therefore, when they heard Ho Then the Chitrote Mungi's explanation, the neighbors found it plausible. During their verification process, the police met a supplier who provided chicken and duck to the Bát Tiên Restaurant. This supplier mentioned that 4 days before the discovery of the body part on the beach, he had received a phone call from Junglin. Junglin had complained about a shortfall in the supply and requested additional delivery. The supplier sent an employee to the Bát Tiên Restaurant to deliver the goods. At that time, everything in the restaurant seemed normal, and Junglin was busy organizing the work. The next day, according to the schedule, the delivery employee returned to the Bát Tiên Restaurant only to find a notice on the door reading "closed for 3 days." The delivery employee knocked but received no response and had to return. The supplier found this situation very strange because he had been working with the Bát Tiên Restaurant for over 10 years, and such an incident had never occurred. He also had not received any notice from Junglin, the owner of the restaurant. The supplier then went to Junglin's house to inquire about what had happened. To his surprise, the door was answered by a stranger. This man said that Junglin's family had left Macau and relocated to Zhuhai. Upon hearing this, the police showed a photo of Ho Untur or Hate Nigi to the supplier, who confirmed that the man who answered the door was indeed Ho O Yi Ter Aag. During their investigation, the police discovered that the 10 individuals, including Junglin's family of 8, his wife's 9th aunt, and the chef of the Bát Tiên Restaurant, were all missing. Junglin's mother-in-law, Trusanella P. Vin, was 70 years old and had several siblings in Macau. However, by the time of the incident, some had passed away or moved elsewhere, leaving only the 9th aunt, Turhanan El P. Trun, in Macau. The 9th aunt, Trusanella P. Trun, at 60 years old, was a capable and talented woman who owned several properties in Macau she lived off the rental income from these properties. Since she was the only remaining relative in Macau, Zheng Lin's mother-in-law often visited her for company. Zheng Lin's family had a very close relationship with the ninth aunt. The ninth aunt, being single and childless, loved Zheng Lin's 5 children dearly. Every weekend, she would take her grandchildren out to play. D9's neighbors told the police that 3 days before the incident, a man had come to her house looking for her. This person said that Triavnan M's youngest son had a fever and asked for her help. D9, hearing this, quickly got into a taxi with the man and went away. After that, no one saw her again. Some of D9's tenants, including Tranella P. Trine, mentioned that she didn't come to collect the rent at the end of the month as usual, and they couldn't contact her, not knowing where she had gone. At that time, people thought it best to keep quiet to avoid trouble. Additionally, Tranella P. Trine had relatives in Macau, so they assumed nothing serious had happened. Therefore, no one reported to the police. Based on this lead, the police had the forensic team reassess the evidence. They managed to collect fingerprints from one of the many body parts, and these fingerprints matched D9, Tranella P. Trine's fingerprints. Thus, the police finally identified one of the victims as D9, Tranella P. Trine, who was 60 years old. After taking over the Bát Tiên Restaurant, Hac Sa Beach hired a new group of staff to manage it. Previously, the restaurant's chef was Tretnet Abljoing, Tar M's cousin, who also went missing along with his family. Based on the investigation, the missing persons included Tranella 54, the owner of the Bát Tiên Restaurant, Tran Hu Nun, 42, Tranenum's wife, 4 daughters, Trane Bo Oku Kun, 18, Trae de Bo, 12, Trairo Vian 10, Turzer Bo Ho 9, the youngest son, Treptuan Kulan Andre 7, Turnan P. Vin, Turnan Enum's mother-in-law 70 D9, Turnel of Etrine 60, and Turthurn de Ba Ol Jiang, the restaurant's chef 61. In total, 10 people were missing. It has been determined that D9, Tranella P. Trine, was murdered. Linking this with other clues, Trekna Anjum's neighbor, Hoenji Tra Harhe Unji, is suspected of organizing a crime syndicate. The suspect, Hoen Tra Cheungi, real name Trenan T. Eljonungu 50, comes from Duim A. Tri, Fidesanen, Kuunye Jugoching. He moved to Macau in 1970 and was granted residency rights in 1980. Ho Ning Trapadar Wenji, who suffers from asthma and always carries medication, moved to Macau, earning a living through small trading. He has a wife and 2 children back home, a son aged over 20 and a daughter aged 7. Neighbors described Home Engi as having a fierce appearance, rude speech, and a violent temper reminiscent of a gangster. However, his business dealings were fair and his prices reasonable, leading to frequent visits from neighbors to his shop. Ho Mibi had a major gambling habit, often visiting casinos, particularly enjoying baccarat, usually losing more often than winning. During the investigation of Ho Engi Tur 8 Mungi's assets, police discovered that after Turparan M's family went missing, Ho Engi Tather Hagi not only hired new staff but also seized Turparan M's assets in Macau. Even a small truck previously used by Tranenum for deliveries was taken by Ho Ang Trera Truha's son. A year later, Ho Ang Yu tried to return to mainland China. During exit procedures, customs officials inspected his luggage and found many personal documents belonging to Ter Arnether and M, including the birth certificates of his 4 daughters and keys to Tr An M's bank safe deposit box. Noticing these irregularities, customs detained Ho Intro Inta Harzinungi and handed him over to Macau police for investigation. When police asked Ho Thendungyeg Traer Haga Nocheg about the whereabouts of Trataran LM's family, he claimed not to know, only having heard they had emigrated. However, there were no exit records for Terranurnan M's family. Asked about acquiring Traerendran LM's assets, Holder Ingtra Tershegi insisted that the family owed him hundreds of thousands of Hong Kong dollars from gambling debts and had mortgaged the Biet Tyne restaurant, car, and house to him. The day after Ho Engi Turatesh A Ningi's arrest, Macau police publicly released information and photos of the 10 missing people. Subsequently, the media in Macau and Hong Kong covered the incident extensively, suggesting that Hoeng Truek RNA could be responsible for the family's disappearance and that the parts of bodies found on the remote beach could belong to them. This news created a stir, attracting widespread attention and discussion. Hong Kong police, upon seeing the news, realized that Ho Njuturtapurudno was actually Triacha Inti Alaujoling, a murderer on the most wanted list for a long time. In fact, Ho Mingtero Tuthnoi had committed a murder in Hong Kong before fleeing to Macau. This incident occurred 12 years prior to the Bát Tiên Restaurant case, at which time he was still using his real name, Trakan T. El Jalung. He ran a wool factory in Hong Kong, but due to business losses, he was heavily in debt. Hong Tri Hang remembered a former business partner named Lai Ho. He wanted to borrow money from Lai Ho. However, because Hong Tri Hang had previously owed money that he hadn't repaid, Lai Ho refused to lend him any more. The two argued, and in a fit of rage, Hong Tri Hang tied up Lai Ho, his wife, and Lai Ho's sister. He then locked Lai Ho in a bathtub, filled it with water until the victim drowned. Next, Hong Tri Hang used a knife to wound Lai Ho's wife and sister, then set the house on fire to dispose of the bodies. After setting the fire, Hong Tri Hang fled to the mainland. Lai Ho's wife and sister managed to struggle free, untee themselves, and luckily escaped the fire with their lives. They later went to the police station to report the crime. For more than 10 years, the police in Hong Kong and the mainland searched for Tran Tu Long, but unexpectedly, he had fled to Macau. After committing the crime in Hong Kong, Hong Tri Hang had escaped to his hometown in Nam Hai, Foshan, Guangdong. While hiding in his hometown, Hong Tri Hang was taken care of by a maid. Not long after, he developed feelings for the maid's daughter, and the two fled to Macau to live. Hong Tri Hang was extremely ruthless. To avoid capture by the police, he went as far as cutting off part of his left index finger and using a knife to erase his fingerprints. He no longer used his real name, Tran Tu Luong, but changed it to Hong Tri Hang. He hid very well, and even after more than 10 years, no one found out his true identity. When the news about the Bát Tiên Restaurant case in Macau was reported, Lai Ho's wife recognized Hong Tri Hang in the photo as Tran Tu Long, the man who had killed her husband and set the fire years ago. Therefore, She immediately reported the incident to the Hong Kong police. The Hong Kong police provided Hong Tri Hang's criminal record to the Macau police. Hong Tri Hang admitted to the crimes he committed in Hong Kong, but adamantly denied killing the family of Sister Nam, insisting that he had nothing to do with their disappearance. Hong Tri Hang was detained in a Macau prison awaiting trial on multiple charges. In prison, he was brutally beaten by other inmates. The day after his arrest, he was taken to the hospital for treatment. While in the hospital, he requested to stay and did not want to return to prison. After spending one night in the hospital, the next morning, Hong Tri Hang was returned to the detention center. Unable to endure the torture, he began to contemplate a desperate act. On the day he was returned to the detention center, he used a tin can from the prison trash to cut the veins in his left wrist. After this initial attempt failed, he was taken back to the hospital. It took 5 hours of emergency treatment to save his life. 2 months later, in the early hours of one morning, Hong Tri Hang made another desperate attempt in prison. Taking advantage of a moment when no one was watching, he secretly took a sharp piece of a soda can lid and cut into the old wound on his wrist. This time, he chose to act in the early morning when the guards and other inmates were asleep. This time, he succeeded. Hong Tri Hang was indeed ruthless. Choosing such a method meant he had to witness his own blood flow out, his body gradually turning cold. He also had to force himself not to make any noise, or he would be discovered. The next morning, the guards found Hong Tri Hang dead in a pool of blood, having long since stopped breathing. According to a fellow inmate, prior to the incident, he saw Hong Tri Hang turning his back and working on something. Little did he know that Hong Tri Hang would die in such a manner. The police found a suicide note from Hong Tri Hang, along with asthma medication and some pornographic magazines. In the suicide note, Hong Tri Hang insisted he was not the culprit in the Bát Tiên Restaurant massacre. He wrote it, "Please clear my name." Think about whether a person about to die would still lie. I had my reasons for admitting all the crimes in front of the judge. And at 2 a.m. on September 28, the prosecutor's office wanted to investigate certain matters, and I had to sit there for over 10 hours. During this time, I guessed they were observing my psychological state. Because I had never done anything wrong in Macau, my psychological state wasn't too bad. They asked me about matters related to the Bát Tiên Restaurant. I told them everything, like how I knew Sister Lin, how the process of taking over the restaurant went, etc. They asked me for 2 or 3 days and nights, almost 4 people taking turns questioning me. Finally, on October 1, they suddenly accused me of killing Sister Lin's family. At that time, I was extremely tired. The incident in Hong Kong had also been exposed. I decided I would die to prove my innocence. At the beginning, I thought that Tran Tu Luong was dead. Furthermore, my children's father had long passed away. At that time, I decided to erase my fingerprints and start a new life. I turned over a new leaf, not only refraining from bad deeds, but even daring not to think about committing crimes. Everything has its reasons. I have maintained my integrity for over 10 years. My children have just graduated and started working. I should have been able to enjoy my old age, since 1984 when Ms. Lam owed me 88,000 Hong Kong dollars. I had the intention to buy back the Bát Tiên Restaurant. There were witnesses to this. In summary, I absolutely could not have committed this crime. If I had truly done it, there's nothing I would not dare to admit. Moreover, when everyone reads these words, I will no longer be in this world. Currently, the most pitiful ones are my wife and children, including my little 7-year-old daughter. Even though I have always treated her unjustly, could it be that after rehabilitating, being an honest person, and wanting to live a peaceful life for the remaining years, my past actions from over 10 years ago still come back to ruin me? My wife is the most innocent person. I must bear all the consequences. But my wife is just a simple, naive rural woman who doesn't understand worldly matters. She is a good person. Does this society not have compassion, not lend a helping hand to her? I sincerely plead. I free myself not because I am guilty, but for many other reasons. I suffer from asthma, which torments me repeatedly. I do not want to endure it further. Here, I decide to stay true to the sincere words of a person about to die. Hong Chai-hang's confession letter seems to imply that the police coerced him. He was forced to confess, believing that those who die in prison will have their souls contained by demons and not be able to be at peace. The prison officials, upon Hong Chai-hang's death, performed procedures to release him from prison. One person held a black umbrella, and another held incense sticks as they escorted him out of the prison. It is said that this is a custom to send off spirits in Macau prisons. After Hong Chai-hang's death, many different versions of the Bát Tiên Restaurant massacre began to circulate among the public. According to an unknown source, a newspaper published an article stating that a fellow inmate of Hong Chai-hang had shared a story with them. Before the incident, Hong Chai-hang had played cards with Tran Hoi Nungi, Trin Lam's wife, at the Bát Tiên Restaurant. Tran Hoi Nungi lost 180,000 Hong Kong dollars. Afterward, Hong Chai-hang repeatedly went to collect the debt, but the Tran Lam family did not pay. On the night of the incident, Hong Chai-hang went again to the Bát Tiên Restaurant to collect the debt, but the Tran Lam family found many excuses to avoid paying. Angry, Hong Chai-hang kidnapped Tran Lam's 7-year-old youngest son and demanded that the family and restaurant staff tie themselves up. If not, he would harm the child. Tran Hoi Nungi, in desperation to save her child, tried to rush in to reclaim her son, but Hong Chai-hang swiftly threw a liquor bottle at her. Tran Hoi Nungi collapsed in a pool of blood and died instantly. Seeing his wife killed, Tran Lam tried to fight Hong Chai-hang, but was no match for him. Everyone present was eventually killed by Hong Chai-hang. Before dying, Trin Lam's youngest son shouted, "Auntie Chin comes to pick us up to go out every weekend. If she doesn't see us this week, she will report to the police." Hong Chai-hang thought the child's words made sense, so he decided to act. He went to Auntie Chin Tran Lap Trine's house, claiming that Tran Lam's youngest son had a fever and needed help, luring her to the Bát Tiên Restaurant and then killing her. After killing the Tran Lam family, Hong Chai-hang posted a notice of temporary closure on the door of the Bát Tiên Restaurant. It was summer then, and if the bodies were not dealt with quickly, they would start to emit a strong odor, arousing suspicion. During the days the restaurant was closed, Hong Chai-hang dismembered the bodies, put them into black plastic bags, and disposed of them in batches. There were rumors that Hong Chai-hang used part of the bodies to make human meat buns and sold them to customers. This is the origin of the story human meat buns at the Bát Tiên Restaurant. However, this is just a rumor without any solid evidence. 3.5 years later, some sanitation workers discovered many human bones at a landfill, which were likely those of the Trine Lam family. Later, the case was adapted into the movie Human Meat Buns, which premiered in 1993. Afterward, the story of the Bát Tiên Restaurant spread widely. For a long time, no one dared to go to the Hac Sa Beach, where the crime occurred. However, over time, the case gradually faded into oblivion. To this day, the truth about the Bát Tiên Restaurant massacre remains buried with Hong Chai-hang's death. Before his death, he admitted to the crimes in Hong Kong, but denied involvement in the Bát Tiên Restaurant massacre. This has made the whole affair mysterious. In the end, was the case really committed by Hong Chai-hang or not? Perhaps only he himself knew the truth.